Hello, all you big, beautiful brains out there. What do you call big fears? And I mean really big fears. Today, we're talking about megalophobia. Before we get started, take a minute to subscribe to Psy vs. Psy. Help out your friendly neighborhood psychologist while I tell you all about megalophobia. Longtime channel viewers may already know that we live in San Antonio, Texas, and that Texas is, amongst a lot of other things, known for being big. It's home to some of the weirdest mega-sized creations on the planet, like the biggest rocking chair, the biggest bass drum, and right here in San Antonio, the biggest pair of cowboy boots. Why does this matter? Megalophobia is the fear of things that are really, really large. Seeing oversized or extremely large versions of things can be a major trigger for people with megalophobia. Let's go over what type of fear megalophobia is first, then we'll talk about how it got such a weird name, and then about how it shows up in the scientific literature. The first really important thing to know about megalophobia is that there is no specific assessment for megalophobia, and that it is not an official diagnosis in the DSM. That's the big guide psychologists use to classify disorders. Instead, megalophobia would be diagnosed as a specific phobia. Specific phobias are intense, irrational fears of things that pose little or no actual danger. People with specific phobias often report experiencing the same kinds of physical symptoms when they're around whatever makes them scared. These feelings include things like dizziness, sweating, an increased heart rate, or even nausea or shaking. For people with the specific phobia of megalophobia, those physical symptoms are brought on by being around extremely large objects. Those large objects can really be almost anything that's extremely oversized, like the big boot statue I was talking about earlier. Big animals like elephants or horses, large machines like planes or construction equipment, or even really large naturally occurring things like redwood trees or mountains or oceans. While almost anyone could feel in awe of or even maybe overwhelmed by those large objects, for megalophobic individuals, the fear that they experience is overpowering and can really be debilitating. So, how did it get that name? Most specific phobias are named in the same way. The Greek word for the specific thing that is feared at the beginning, and then phobia from the word phobos or to fear at the end. The first part of megalophobia comes from the word megal, which means large or exaggerated. Think like the way we use the word mega. Megastar, megavolt, megamind. It can be really convenient to name phobias this way because it does give consistency, but it can also make it extremely easy to name and popularize almost anything as a phobia. This naming convention has made it really difficult to trace back the first time megalophobia was used as a word, but it was popularized enough to get its own Reddit forum in 2014, so it must have been somewhat before then. A Google search tells us that the term wasn't really searched for before about 2012, so the popularization must have happened somewhere in the early 2010s. All of this leads us to a bigger issue. If megalophobia is being searched for and has communities of people searching for support, what support can psychologists offer? Here's the bad part. When it comes to the scientific literature, the case studies or experimental data about megalophobia are virtually non-existent. And that seems really odd considering how many people report experiencing megalophobia. We have tons of anecdotal support, but very little scientific support. Why would this be? There are several possibilities. The first is that there isn't a lot of interest, but that's probably not the case considering these communities out there searching for support. Another reason for lack of scientific study could be that this population of individuals is particularly difficult to study, and that could honestly play a part. Megalophobics often have different large object triggers, and identifying universal triggers could be extremely difficult to do ethically. But the last possibility of why we simply don't have as much scientific research seems the most probable, and that's that we simply don't have enough good psychologists out there focusing on this area of study. And this is really a shame. Grouping all specific phobias together means that we're treating patients in the same way, using the same techniques, when really alternative methods could be more correct or even less traumatic. Until we have the science to inform best practices, there's really no way to know. So, we want to hear from you. Did you find this video as a psychology student interested in phobias? Did you find this video from researching a fear of big objects that you have? And if so, would you like to see more psychologists researching in this area? If you want to see more videos from us about psychology, phobias, or just really big things in Texas, make sure you subscribe to Psy vs. Psy so you can get all of our other videos and you can learn all about the science of psychology. Until next time, keep thinking, and I'll see y'all later. Bye! Megalophobics, please turn away, because I do feel obligated to show the big Texas boots. Texas is weird.